Okay, welcome back. I just want to share something. This is the most interesting part of this film I watched. It was called The Green Knight. Came out recently. And, oh, by the way, this is part 2 of the 7 principles for the aspiring one. There was a point where this knight is going through this field where a battle had taken place. And there's this guy out there kind of like rummaging around over the dead bodies, like taking things off of them. He's a scavenger.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, no need to worry about it. Don't need to bury these bodies. Nature's just going to do its thing. You can just leave them here. They'll decompose, go into the earth, and then it starts its cycle all over again. And, I thought it was kind of funny is like, we're so quick to bury away death, but not really look to the fact that life occurs even at the point of the death itself. Nature takes that death and immediately turns it back into life. And I thought it was just one of probably the more impactful lines in the whole film.
But I think I think this whole burying of the death or embalming people, it's all fear-based.
That's what I'm saying. And it was
Even
funny.
Funerals, yeah.
The scavenger, like he's around on this field, he's grabbing these things, and he does it all the time. So he's not really shocked by the death. Even though a battle had occurred, there are dead bodies everywhere. Bury them, no need. He's like, it's just, they're here, nature will do its thing. It'll suck them up, pull them in, and then turn things back into life.
Yeah, you won't see those bodies in a certain amount of time. Time will.
Yeah, it's funny. The scavenger has changed his mind really on how he looked at death itself. Maybe because he was around it all the time, but he wasn't wrong in what he was saying.
Yeah, I mean, it actually, if you don't bury them, it probably helps the ecosystem. But crows can eat, bears,
that's
wolves.
My point.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he wasn't disturbed.
Yeah.
By the fact that nature is essentially happening all around him. Most people are disturbed by that aspect of death.
Yes, 100%.
Right? Not to say, I'm not talking about the war aspect of it, but just death in general. They're disturbed. So when you see it, you're shocked. You don't know how to deal with it.
Yes.
Bury it, put them in the casket. Don't do this, cry, do all this other stuff that goes with it. It's like, hold on a second. And this is going to lead us into the second point, second principle of the aspiring one. Jason, how does it open?
Yes. You, he says.
This is a direct statement.
Should not let yourself, and I love that he used these 2 words, be disturbed or distracted by the unreal impulses of your consciousness.
Got it. So even death, you're looking at death.
Yes.
Don't let it disturb you.
No, yeah.
This is a cycle of things that naturally have to happen. We all have to die. I'm going to die. I'm not going to live forever. Very conscious of that. Doesn't disturb me. But it does tell me I need to get to work. You know what I mean? Because if I'm working these probabilities for this meat suit right now, let's go get it. So don't let these things distract me from the goal. These are just the natural occurrences. If the scavenger's in the field and he needs all these items to survive, because that's how he survives, well, don't be disturbed by the dead bodies. You chose to be a part of that learning process. This is your choice. All right? So those impulses, don't let them distract you from the task in hand. And can we just talk about something here? It says you should not. This is not a dogma. This is not a command. This is a suggestion.
Right.
All these things are suggestions.
Yes.
These are not the finality of it. It's just saying if you want to aspire, these are some pretty well-trodden ways of doing it, right?
Yeah, but I like how he said disturbed or distracted.
Yeah.
And he used those 2 words because we'll start with disturbed first.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
These unreal impulses that we have in our head are very disturbing. We all have thought fucked up shit.
Yep.
Big time. Like you're laying next to your partner and you're like, I'm really so pissed off. I'd like to take a knife to her throat. I mean, you know what I mean? Yeah. Have you ever thought that?
No, but there are people they kill their partners.
Yeah, but I mean, but that's an impulse. He's like, don't be disturbed by that.
No,
it's not from, and he's going to explain the reason why. But I don't want people to think, well, I'm just a fucked up human being because I think these disturbed thoughts.
No, because listen, who are those? Some people may see like a child running around naked.
Yes.
And then think they're a horrible person because they saw a child run around naked and they saw the genitalia.
Right.
It's a human being.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You can't disturb yourself with these unreal thoughts that are really occurring. Just because you're thinking them do not define who you are as a person.
No.
Your actions will define you.
Yes, the actions define you. That's what I wanted to get into because people, I've especially in religion, they'll do that. Oh my God, I sinned, 100 times a day because I thought about, that I'm married and I looked at this other girl's ass.
Here's the thing. So if, say you do that, right? Girl or guys, you're looking at it. How is it that you deal with that essentially disturbing or distracting untrained thought that's come through you.
This is what Jesus said the same thing. In the Bible, he talked about this. He was talking about, thoughts lead to action.
Yeah.
So if you meditate on something, that's a whole different ballgame. If you think real quick, oh, that's a nice ass, and then you move on.
Yep.
Or you recognize it and be like, okay, whatever. It's a beautiful piece of art or what. This is a
human body.
being,
I can't help the fact that it's a biological response.
It's great. Okay, next. Yeah. Or you can meditate on it and be like, this girl works with me all the time. I can't wait to see her. I'm going to invite her out for lunch. And then next thing you know, these thoughts become
That's why they talk about murder as premeditative.
Yes.
Listen, I've thought about self-defense. And in self-defense, like, oh my God, I would have to kill someone. I've considered that to defend my family.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm like, I've thought about that. I haven't done anything, but I've thought about it. That doesn't make me bad.
No.
I don't want to take a human life, but you still have to prep yourself. There's an equalization in the brain that has to occur.
Yes. And he says disturbed, and we talked about that, or distracted. So, people will get so distracted, especially nowadays. This impulse, this thought process will distract you. You have to recognize that it's there, what's happening. This is that we talked about earlier.
They play off of your principle of distraction. Oh, attention here. Oh, attention here. The mind lacks focus. Focus requires training, like going to the gym, lifting weights, or doing cardio. It takes time because there's so many things out there that will distract you. Biological, non-biological, right? There may be certain sexual attractions that'll, distract you, or economic ones. Oh, there's a lot of money over here. Maybe I can do this, but it's a really horrible thing to do. You have to maintain that focus. You can't let yourself be distracted or disturbed by things that are unreal.
And I think that's really important when he says distracted by the unreal impulses of your consciousness. I look at this where I'm going to now make this an affirmation to myself, like, hey, okay, I just thought that.
Yeah.
That's an unreal impulse of my consciousness.
Did it actually happen?
I could say that to myself though. That's unreal impulse of my conscious.
Yep. My perspective
is
not perfect.
I'm going to dismiss that.
So what I thought was also imperfect. There's not a ton of truth around it.
Right.
So it's unreal. I don't need to put a lot of energy into it. I need to recognize and let it pass. I have to work with that train of thing. Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you. Next.
Yes. And he says they occur automatically.
You can't do anything about it. Remember I was saying it's a biological thing?
Yes.
Someone walks by and that's a beautiful human being, you're going to know.
Yes.
Men, women, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't make you a bad person. Some people, it just happens.
And he says they occur automatically, often come from the subconsciousness, and you're not able to tame them immediately. So they often come from the subconsciousness. Yeah. So let's get into subconsciousness. Explain that. Explain dreaming.
Yeah.
Because you've set your dreams can set you up for the day.
You bet they can. So your subconsciousness is that area, what I would describe as the lower trunk of the tree of your mind, right? The top part of the branch is the things that are gathering the light. That's your conscious. That's the stuff you're working with.
Right.
But the bottom of the tree is going to be sending up food and other impulses coming from the earth, things that happen around you. You can't handle those things. It naturally has to do that to survive. The question is, how does the top of the tree deal with the energy that comes up to it?
Yes.
You see in this metaphor, I know I'm using my hands and stuff. You picture me as a tree head.
Yeah.
So this subconscious is going to send you something, right? And you're like, whoa, what was that for, right? And you're trying to be a good person doing these things, right? Some guy cuts you off in traffic. Fuck that guy. That guy's, I'm going to beat him up.
Right.
But you didn't do it, right?
Right.
You feel the impulse, and you're like, it's not real. It's all good. There's actually not a problem here. I'm just driving. And that's when the top of the brain's dealing with this impulse that came from the subconscious. It's just that fight or flight, cortisol, neuroreceptors, everything starts firing for a second. You're like, slow it down. Let's logically think about it. That's what we're talking about. And so your dreams can actually help train this. Your subconscious is just releasing everything in the dreams.
24/7.
Just catalyst after
your
catalyst after
subconscious
catalyst.
never gets tired.
So if you wake up and you record what the subconscious has been throwing at you, you can be like, interesting. Now you can see how to deal with these things that are occurring in your dream state, which your subconscious is just like, here you go. And if you want to learn from it, it can help you during real life. So when the impulses occur, you'd be like, no problem. I already spent 45% of my time sleeping, dealing with this. No problem. I got it in the bag.
Yes, yeah.
Dream training of the subconscious to the conscious and managing those impulses is a very, very good tool. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, and we did we did dreaming episodes.
Yeah.
I think we did 2 or 3 of them.
Correct.
At
but
least.
don't scold yourself because it happens so quickly and you can't just be, I can't stop it all together. The key here is not to stop everything from naturally and automatically happening within yourself.
Right.
They're automatic. They occur regardless.
Yeah, and he says, and you are not able to tame them immediately. So, and I want people to understand this because sometimes, like, let's say you're looking at someone physically and you're super attracted to them. Mm-hmm. You're at your work and this person's been talking to you and being flirty with you, and you're like, oh, I feel like an emotion inside of me.
Yeah.
Well up next to that person.
Tame it. There's nothing there.
Yeah, tame them immediately. He says, if you are not, he said, they occur on my opposite comes from, and you are not able to tame them immediately. Don't because you can't tame it instantly.
Yeah.
Don't get discouraged.
No, don't get discouraged. Don't get distracted. Don't be disturbed by the fact that you couldn't manage it immediately.
Yes.
Here's the key word: tame. You are the master of your subconscious. You are the architect for what happens with that information, that raw information that comes in. How do I want to digest it?
You're the master from everything from your hair all the way down to your toenails.
Tame it.
All of it.
It's you.
Yes.
When someone says that person looks untamed, yeah, they probably are a little untamed, because it all happens in the mind first. Don't let these unreal things, right? Well, they're impulses, they're happening. But applying it to what's really going on with you, don't let that define you. Don't let it disturb.
Yeah, and so he's going to be practical here in this last paragraph. He says, you can, however, quickly, he uses this, in a flash, detect them, and through your concentrated, neutral, positive thinking and feelings, make them into recognition, perception, understanding, and make them into
inconsequential.
Inconsequential trifles.
That's correct.
So these are all big words, so I want to break it down for him. So you can, however, quickly in a flash detect them.
Yeah.
So if you become self-aware enough, you could be like, oh, shit.
Yep. And that goes back to number one, okay? Logic in the process. Found my logic. I'm going to start training it. I'm dealing with the impulse. Brings me into two.
What? Okay, concentrated, neutral, positive thinking. Let's stop there. This is important.
Great. This comes in. Oh, man, that was pretty negative. All good.
My boss promoted somebody. Let's use this one.
Yeah.
I'm standing in line, think that I'm going to get promoted.
Yep.
My boss in front of everybody embarrasses me and promotes this other person in this position that I was supposed to work for 10 years.
Yeah.
This is a huge emotional. You're going to get rage, pissed off.
You bet you are.
Your face is going to flush.
Yep.
When you think you're fixing to get that and then you hear this other person's name.
Yeah. You've attached yourself to an outcome.
Yes.
You've attached yourself to an identity.
Yes.
That frankly wasn't you.
I deserve this.
And so you thought you could control somebody else's will to promote you to do something.
Yes.
Didn't go in your favor.
No.
So you're going to get pissed. Mm-hmm. So unless you recognize the basis for what that anger and jealousy is actually creating, you got to slow down. You got to be like, you want to know something? It wasn't me. I thought I could control this.
Right.
I'm going to neutralize this negativity. I'm going to be thank you for teaching me about myself. I'm going to ingest these things. I'm going to chew it up. It's neutral. Now I can digest.
Well, I think the word concentrated is so important because those thought impulses are so unconcentrated and
they're
so
all over the
monkey
place.
mind.
They're everywhere.
It's like, like a monkey, they had that one, and you've heard of it too, where they had the birthday cake that was given to one monkey in the zoo. The zookeeper. Yeah, I think they end up killing the zookeeper. The other monkeys got so pissed off.
Yeah, they got jealous.
Yeah, they got jealous because they're like, I didn't get a cake.
I know. What's with
this
that?
Dude, why is this guy eating a cake and not me? Okay, well, when I see this dude, he's gone.
What happens when people get mad? These impulses hit.
Yes.
They lash out at everybody, everywhere. Concentrate on what the actual root of this thing is. If you're going to pull a weed out of the ground,
right?
What do? Grabble around it? No. I'm going to grab the weed
right
by the root stem and rip it out. See you later.
Well, you can do this. I've been doing this here lately with this scenario. When I read this, because you sent this to me, I think last week, or last few days, but I've been working on this. On the flip side, super happy feelings, bring them to a neutral, positive thinking.
Yeah, you have to.
Either way. I think this is where Buddhist teaching talks about this.
It has to go both ways. Although, because if you're living on a huge high, you're going to crash. So let's neutralize it. I'm still finding that path of joy.
Yes.
I'm still positive in my orientation,
but I can bring logic to that.
Precisely correct.
And that's, that's what I did yesterday. It was like Thanksgiving, and I'm like, this is like super happy, drinking, eating tons of food. And I sit there and I was like, let me be it, and let me not so focus on my emotions, but just be present with the people that are around me.
Yes.
And listen to them and be logical and give myself in service to others.
Yep.
Instead of being all about me and I feel so amazing now. You see what I'm saying? Big difference.
It's a big difference, right? Because you're reining it back for a second.
Yeah.
You are taming that specific thing. You're making a recognition of who you are in that moment. You're concentrating on it. Let me think about this thought process, where it started. I'm going to concentrate on it. I'm going to rein these emotions, these unreal things back in, and see the reality of what needs to occur.
And you see this in relationships, after 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, doesn't matter. The other person says, I just don't feel like I love you anymore.
Yeah.
They'll make that statement. That it's service to self. It's like, well, have you had the conversation? What does self-sacrificial love look like? Why are you thinking that? Why are you feeling that? Are you acting on an impulse because you're kind of angry or pissed off or hurt?
Yeah.
Did this person hurt you in a way to where you've become defensive?
I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna go be with my parents for a bit. Wait a minute. Have you considered what you're saying?
Concentrated, neutral, positive logic.
Just hold up.
Right.
Okay. Let's reel it back for a second.
Right.
Let's both eat what we just said. Say, okay, we're being unreal with our impulses. Let's concentrate on this. Let's work through it. Let's recognize. Let's find understanding amongst each other. And let's say, you want to know something? The thing that triggered this was inconsequential.
Yes.
It was a trifle. And what we need to look at is the root cause of all this. This outside stuff.
What happens is not the big deal. Is the other
that's why
thing
it's
that
a
happens.
trifle.
Yeah. Oh, let's use it. So let's say use the same scenario. Okay. Let's say one of the partners has an affair. And so you can look at it and say, this person went to another person and had a sexual encounter with them outside of our agreement. We agreed to be monogamous. Yep. And so in this, they went, and so they hurt me. There's trust issues. There's all these things. The act doesn't matter.
No, it was before the thoughts.
Yes.
It's all those other things that were occurring in the past.
And the root of this is that you guys haven't been communicating. They were getting value from someone else. They were communicating with someone else. The emotional needs weren't being met. There's so much when you can logically take a piece of paper and sit down and say, what were the reasonings for both of us? Yep. In a neutral way. What logically, how did this happen?
Yeah. Because how did we get to this point?
Because if you just focus on that, you're just going to be hurt all the time. You're going to feel like you're going to be service to self again.
And you're going to blame.
Yes,
when you didn't realize
I'm the victim.
That you are also a part of this. And
the reason that happened was partly because of you.
And to think you're a victim is you're being disturbed by the impulses of your consciousness. They're unreal.
I was talking to someone the other day, and they're going through a divorce, and this always turns to the worst of both people. The negative part, because both people become a victim.
Can't do that.
And then they get teams together to feed off of them.
Oh yeah,
and then they just living this victimized story over and over again for months on end. Yeah, making themselves sick, doing all this stuff. Every time they can share their story, they're so happy to do that.
Of course,
they just identify.
Oh, and then you're gonna put my story on paper. Oh, and someone will pay me for my story.
So identifying with the impulse.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You're attaching yourself to that impulse. Yes. If the boss gives the promotion to someone else, you've attached yourself to the unreal impulse. It's not you.
And we can end in this, but he says the feelings make them into recognition. And he explains recognition here.
Which is a perception or understanding.
Yes.
The way you look at the world needs to change. You have to recognize the way you looked at it was not real. It's not the true cause of it. You are not really a victim. You have all the power over the choices within your own life. You need to perceive that properly. You need to understand, which means you have to apply the logic to see how these things, these probabilities have formed.
Yeah, and I would see where am I too negative, too positive in my perception of this? How am I not understanding this? Yeah. In a way that's service to others.
Correct.
With love and light. So you kind of have to look at it like that way instead of identifying with, because like you said, your perception is not your reality.
No, it's not.
All of our perception. You can see something. We can look at this world map. You're going to pick somebody totally differently than I will. You're going to pick a country that you would like to go to.
Right,
we're probably not going to pick the same one.
We're both going to look at the same time. I'm choosing country right now. Go. Choose one.
Argentina.
Wow. I choose Algeria.
Yeah.
See that? We looked at the map. We had two different things that we started with.
Yeah.
Our perspective of where to go first is completely different.
Yes.
But the thing is, now I can understand
Neither
that.
of them are wrong.
We're not wrong.
Yes.
But now I understand that neither is wrong.
Right.
You have to concentrate on that.
So why not? Why? So the way that you would have this is, I would say, Alex, under your perception, what drew you to that country?
Oh, fantastic. Thank you
now
very
we're having
much.
a conversation. Yes.
Yeah. What drew it to me is that it was bright orange on the map and it was the largest one I could see in Africa.
Yeah.
Easy.
So see that's all logic.
And that's all it is.
Neutral and logic, what you just told me.
All I did is I took something observational.
Right.
And then I'm like, oh, okay. There's no emotional charge, nothing to it. It was just
nothing,
observation.
Yeah.
So I've neutralized any of those things that could have possibly swayed me in any sort of direction to make it an unreal view. Oh, I used my intuition and I chose Madagascar. What about it?
Yeah.
Because you're on a totally different continent.
So this is where I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make a vision board and put everything Madagascar.
Yeah, that's not what it is. And so what you find is that in a flash, detect these things. That's where the training occurs. You'll feel it. You'll feel the emotion charts, the flush in your face, and realize, you know what, something? It's inconsequential. I'm just here to learn.